So this is the basis of settlement. As I mentioned before, I gave some examples of insurance claims where you've got an old shed. You've insured for an old shed worth $12,000, you've insured for $50,000. You check it through the basis of settlement indemnity, it all looks good, right? So then a total loss occurs. And what is your expectation? Until now, we've been speaking about the quotation part of the value chain, but now we're looking at claims. What happens when a claim occurs? How are you going to be indemnified? I think it's important to point out that there is a principal insurance. It's called betterment, and it basically says insurance is there to protect, put you back into the position that you were before a loss, not into a better position. So how does reinstatement, the basis of settlement, impact you? If you've got reinstatement on your policy schedule, basically the clause will tell you whether you enjoy reinstatement as new for the claims adjustment process, or whether you'll enjoy reinstatement using the best available alternative. But this is the best kind of cover type you can choose. And the most important point to realize is that with this kind of loss assessment, the loss adjuster does not apply depreciation, so that the condition of the building just before the loss is not taken into account. However, with indemnity basis of settlement, if that appears on your policy schedule, the insurer's obligations are such that the loss is assessed using taking into account depreciation. In other words, they focus on the condition of the property just before the loss happened, and the obligation is to indemnify you for the property in that condition and no better than that. So they will take into account wear and tear. This is the pointy end, and if the unsuspecting person, the insured, doesn't know this, there's going to be a clash of expectations. So against all of this backdrop, it's obvious that choosing a sum insured is important. So insuring something for $2 million and there's a total loss, and indemnity basis settlement applies, you may not get paid out $2 million, and that's where problems arise. So the fourth topic is risk management plan. And what I wanted to point is that I think insurance brokers are going to be moving more towards a risk advisory role, and to be giving advice on risk management and so on, because this occurs already at the big end of town. So this advice and these value add actually exist, and it's going to come down into the SME space, small to medium enterprise, the SME space. And what that basically means is that you have to document certain risk policies in your procedures and develop a risk culture and document them. And ultimately, for startups, investors, it might be more attractive for investors. Bank lenders will look more favorably upon it. Underwriters have a look and think this is an operation is a good risk, so interest rate will be low, your premium rates for insurance will be later. And I might be interested in discussing with, say, one member of the association, if they're interested in taking this forward and perhaps working with someone to start working through a risk management plan and ultimately an enterprise risk policy. We've got 10 minutes for Q&A now, and I sent through I'm not sure if you're ready for some questions now, or to open the floor, Alison.
Yeah, I did get your questions, Martin. Thank you so much for that brief summary. I particularly was interested in the risk management plan idea and your thoughts on the fact that that could actually help you get insurance and potentially reduce your indemnity. I've got to say, some of the examples you used were a little grim. The poor kid with no eye anymore. But your point.
Well, I must just, I think I did mention that these are all live examples in a farming portfolio. And so people think that these things can't happen. They do. And and interesting enough, the other thing is that I can actually talk to them, and to give you some legal, take you through the claims process as well. So that's why I've used it.
No, it's wonderful. We've only got one other person online at the moment. So Adam, if you do have any specific questions, you're so welcome to speak up. If not, I've got a few prepared and I'm happy to just ask one or two to get the most out of this section.
Yeah. Alison, can I ask you?
I'll jump in if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, okay.
Martin, when you talk about like risk culture, risk management, are you talking about risk in terms of risks to employees or people coming into the business or the work site, or are you talking about like risk in terms of consumers, like similar to kind of what Duncan's talked about previously with regards to making sure there's no diseases and those sort of things, or if there's any bacteria outbreaks in the product that you're making?
Yeah, I am definitely speaking about the risk culture and the level of risk maturity in the operating business itself. Those processes and protocols that are documented, that are having been thought about ahead of time and that have been planned. It includes things like risk surveys, some documenting the your process, your manufacturing process, or the farming practice, so we try and improve, that the plan, the risk management plan, if something untoward happens quickly. And for example, a cyber event. If you get to work on a Monday morning and there's an email and saying that your systems have been hacked, or your information's been taken, exfiltrated, what do? What's the first port of call? You've got a lot of these pathogens. Is the sterilization process that you have in place sufficient? Is it actually working? I mean, I don't know how you test that, but it's thinking about those kind of things. Whenever you're involved with food and feed for livestock, there's pretty stringent legislation in place. Now, does the association or members have one document that includes all the laws and regulations that apply to the manufacture of food in one place that they can reference, and then put into writing what processes they've got in order to comply with all of those laws? Are there inspectors that come on site and so on? I think the Feed Manufacturing Association, with whom you guys seem to, I think your CEO is a member of Feed Manufacturing Association. Now, well, that's an excellent. I mean, I can only allocate so much time to this opportunity to talk to you. But I had a look at one of the Zoom sessions, and when he spoke, and then I got onto their website, and that's a perfect symbiosis to piggyback on. They're a mature risk organisation. They're big. They've got partnerships. So you've got that. So that's great. That's exactly what you've got to do. And the next phase is to start pulling that resource. What will they share with you guys? What resources will they make available? And you start documenting all of those and putting that into policies and procedures. So I think that's a great start. But you need manpower, right? I suppose someone's got to do all that work.
And Adam, is that sort of what you were getting at in your question?
Yeah, pretty much. Like what sort of cover would you look towards, to mitigate, probably the two things. One is diseases that kind of hurt your stock, or breeding failures, and then the risk side of things with regards to any potential infections that may be passed on in that sort of food production process.
Yeah, right. So I guess that's the two different parts of the discussions. Like risk management on one side is everything that I've just discussed about risk management. The other side is insurance. And then what can you transfer? What risks can you transfer? Like you've mentioned diseases. Now, in the farm pack setting, the covers that you get are for perils such as fire, impact damage. Diseases is a specialized cover, and you won't find that in a farm pack anywhere in Australia. And that will require, there are some very few, but there are insurance covers for disease outbreaks. But there will be pretty hefty exclusions in there for the very big exposures, such as foot and mouth. We had a rabies outbreak on our farm in South Africa, which was massive. You won't get cover for that kind of stuff. But if something breaks out in the herd and you lose cattle there, yeah, you can get that kind of cover. Happy to take that further. But I suspect that...
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I suspect that, I mean, I don't know if some members are livestock farmers and do this on this, you know, starting up an insect protein business on the side. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's a grim reality by the sounds of things, Martin, that, you know, is there another way to fix that though? Like, can you, so they won't insure you against disease outbreak, but what about income protection? Like, will that cover you if you have something wrong with your farm such that you can't produce?
Yeah.
Income protection for that.
Yeah, business interruption.
Disease.
Yeah, absolutely, business interruption.